Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have a wild show in store for you this morning. There is so much breaking news, so many topics to get to. I'm not sure how, well, I can almost guarantee we're not going to get to all of them. But I'm hoping we can get to as many as possible. We do have a lot of comments from either early this morning, late yesterday after the program. So let's get to those. Let's start the program with comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. This is from Mark. Good morning, Mark. Biden comes out of hiding, and the Trump team won't back down on bringing that illegal back from El Salvador. Yes, Biden did come out of hiding. We have quite a few updates on the Democratic Party in general. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. And as for the illegal in El Salvador, that leads to our next comment from a viewer, from Dave. Dave writes in, 2,000 years ago, Pontius Pilate was given the choice to pardon one man, either Jesus Christ or the murderer Barabbas. The chief priest stirred up the crowd, ever on the wrong side of history, to shout, "Give us Barabbas." Today, we have a crowd, ever on the wrong side of history, shouting, "Give us Kilmer Abrego Garcia, our Barabbas." Human nature doesn't change much. P.S. You can check this in Mark 15, verse 7, and also in the other three Gospels. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Comment from Rick. Rick writes in a little bit to offer a different point of view, if you will. He writes in, bring Garcia back and send the liar Miller back. The biggest outlaw in D.C. is the Prez. I'm assuming Miller is Stephen Miller. I think that's only Miller, high-profile Miller I can think of in this scenario. Then Rick continues, Frank, my gripe is they need to do things right by the law for everyone. I'm not a big fan of Biden opening up the floodgates at the border with very little checks and balances in place. A ton of those people should be welcome here. They fled poverty, threats, and fear and injustice. They shouldn't face that here. So when our government makes a mistake like they did with Garcia, they need to make it right because they can. Thank you, Rick. That ties in with let's see what is happening on the update from Garcia. A federal judge who ordered the Trump administration to return an alleged MS-13 gang member wrongly deported to El Salvador last month, ruled that she would not hold any government official in contempt for violating her order for now, but warned against further what she called gamesmanship. U.S. District Judge Paula Zenas said the federal government failed to provide evidence detailing their efforts to return Garcia back to the United States by April 7th after he was shipped to El Salvador's infamous lockup. Quote, there will be no tolerance for gamesmanship or grandstanding, she said at the hearing in Maryland. To date, what the record shows is that nothing has been done. Nothing. Zenas called Tuesday's hearing to question Justice Department lawyers over its disregard of court orders to return Garcia, who was deported on March 15th against an order granting him asylum in the U.S. The White House has disavowed Garcia as being, quote, wrongly deported, despite admitting he was booted from the country as a result of a clerical error. We heard all about this when the El Salvadorian president was visiting in that Oval Office meeting where the press was involved. And when they asked the El Salvadorian president if he would send Garcia back. He said, you're not seriously, and I'm paraphrasing, you're not seriously asking me to smuggle in a terrorist to the United States. Also, Rubio having that powerful line, which is the president, and again, paraphrasing, the president has the say in foreign policy, not some court. So will not be held in contempt. Now it says here, the judge didn't, however, bar him from being deported to another country. The High Court also found he was wrongly deported and instructed the feds to facilitate his return. The Supreme Court sent the case back down to the lower court. So sort of an update there that no government official will be held in contempt. Zenas balked at the government's defense, pressing that interpretation of the meaning of facilitate is contrary to the plain meaning of the word. Now, ahead of the hearing, Garcia's lawyers accused the feds of taking no steps to get their client back despite the court order. So on Monday, we know when the president met with El Salvador's president, Bukele, that Bukele said it was preposterous to send him back. I hope you're not suggesting that I smuggle terrorists into the United States. Of course, I'm not going to do that. Zenas described that statement in the Oval Office as two very misguided ships passing in the night. The Supreme Court has spoken, she added. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi also appeared indignant toward the court order on Monday, saying, "We don't want Kilmar Abrego Garcia back." Now, Zenas set an April 23rd deadline for the Trump administration to produce documents and have official sit for depositions regarding the steps the feds are taking to secure Garcia's return. Now, according to the media, this is a constitutional crisis. And not just the media, numerous talking heads. But the Washington Post says the deportation standoff sending the U.S. towards a constitutional crisis. And they go, who is this person? And really trying to kind of erase some of his background or suggest there's not enough evidence that he's a MS-13 gang member. So that is the headline. And then it goes through the who, what, when, where, and why. But the deportation standoff sending the U.S. toward a constitutional crisis. Or Edward Luce writes, Trump is halfway to making America a police state. The president's refusal to accept the Supreme Court ruling on illegal deportation is a turning point. Let me ask, if I could, for a moment. If that is a constitutional crisis, if it's leading to a police state or this refusal to accept the Supreme Court ruling, where were these types of articles in the mainstream media when not only did Biden refuse to listen to the Supreme Court on school loan forgiveness, he bragged about not letting the Supreme Court win in that speech. I don't remember that being called a constitutional crisis or the end of democracy. And all these articles, and I'm not going to read them, but all the articles are written in this very almost theatrical way. I do believe it is tough to defend being on the side that's calling for Garcia's return, though we heard from Rick earlier who is. And I'm sure there's others out in the audience that would also be able to defend that position. I do think it's very difficult. It's very much like what we talked about yesterday, and we have a couple updates on it in regards to Harvard. It's hard to defend Harvard standing up for anti-Semitic protests. To me, it seems like a tough position to be in. And that's why I thought what the El Salvador president said about you're not asking me to smuggle in a terrorist was a powerful line. And I say that because that is the side that is fighting to bring Garcia back. Now, I mentioned it yesterday, and this is a sort of update. Senator Chris Van Hollen, that Democrat from Maryland, says he is going to go to El Salvador to show solidarity with Mr. Garcia. As I said in that letter, if I don't hear from him, and I assume that means the El Salvador president, and Garcia is not quickly returned, I do intend to go to El Salvador this week to show solidarity with his family. As you indicated, the Trump administration itself has admitted that he was abducted and sent to this prison in error, and he should get his due process. Now, the Trump administration, if you heard what Stephen Miller said at that Oval Office meeting, that is not their stance. Their stance is in the sense of the clerical error, that person was taken off the case because they did not file the paperwork properly. Very different than how the media is presenting it, and that's what Stephen Miller is arguing. So for whatever that's worth, again, I know he's doing this for fundraising purposes, doing this for attention purposes. Everybody in the Democrat Party right now looking to be the face of the party, looking to be in that leadership position. Though the speculation, the heavy speculation now is that the real leader is AOC because of the amount of people they are packing in, her and Bernie Sanders, into these rallies, that she has a quote-unquote bright future ahead of her. I've got quite a few examples of that being pushed by the New York Times and others that we'll be talking about later on. And the Hill, I think the Hill was the major one from yesterday, pushing what does the future hold for AOC. We know the Times all but endorsed her to run for Senate against Chuck Schumer and all but endorsed her to run for president. So AOC, I think you could argue, and at one point we were saying there was two Democratic parties. There's the AOC and the Fettermans. Now it seems like the party wants to be in the direction of AOC. And we're going to tie that in with these town halls that I've received some pushback on. In my belief that because they're not being done in good faith, that Republicans should not step up and hold town halls. And I only say that because, again, they're not done in good faith. They're not actually done, the people demanding them, they aren't being done to have the conversation, to hear each other out. They're being done to shout down their congressperson, and then the media can run with it and say that now their constituents hate them in these red districts. And I have examples of that to prove my point on it. Now, I know there's people that say there should be town halls, and again, I want to offer this disclaimer. I'm in a normal scenario very much pro town hall, having helped facilitate, to use the word of the day, facilitate town halls, to get town halls scheduled for two congressmen. But these, in my opinion, aren't being done in good faith. For instance, there was, as we had brought to you the story yesterday about Claudia Tenney's district, where there were people from Indivisible, that left group, that left organization, that held a town hall knowing that she would not attend, that it was not her town hall. And what did the headlines read? Claudia Tenney does not attend town hall or something to that extent. Well, it wasn't her town hall. They invited because they wanted to put that cardboard cutout of her up there and yell and scream and have their talking points and get the media attention. Well, the same was done, and though I did not see the coverage, I did not see how the attendance was or how the whole night unfolded, but there was one in the 23rd Congressional District for Nick Langworthy, inviting him. I don't even know if they invited him, to be honest, but holding a town hall in the same kind of vein to attack the congressman for not holding in-person town halls, just teletown halls. And I had a thought about this. I honestly feel that the organizers of those town halls would be disappointed if their congressperson showed up, because it's all about the political show. It's all about this kind of this idea that it shows that their congressperson doesn't care, which is not the case. I think, I honestly, and you can disagree with me, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it, I believe that if a congressperson showed to one of these kind of manufactured town halls or whatever you want to call it, I think there would be a disappointment in the crowd, or it would ultimately lead to screaming and yelling and booing and hissing. But they want the optics of having the cardboard cutout or an empty chair to suggest that their congressperson is MIA. But that was a very long tangent just to tell you that Chris Van Hollen will be visiting El Salvador in support of Garcia. When we come back, a few things here about Pete Hegseth. A lot of breaking news this morning, so please stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
High school students, the Elmira Elks College Fair will be happening April 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Elmira Elks Lodge, located at 300 East Gray Street in downtown Elmira. It's open and free to the public. It's free parking. There will also be mascots as you come in. There'll be up to 50 colleges, representatives from technical schools, universities, in-state, out-of-state, 2-year, 4-year, public and private schools. If you're looking at transfer, this will be the college fair for you. Also a chance to win an instant scholarship drawing at 8 o'clock. Come down to the Elmira Elks College Fair on April 30th from 6 to 8 p.m.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
If you're looking for things to do this weekend, check out our Things to Do page on WYDCTV.com. Find volunteer opportunities, local workshops, family events, and more. Visit WYDCTV.com and click
The Frankly Speaking roof cam. Yes, that's some snow on vehicles. Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Thanks for joining us this morning as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. So in the evening yesterday, we learned that a top advisor to Pete Hegseth was escorted out of the Pentagon. His name's Dan Caldwell, and he was placed on leave because of being implicated in the leak probe. And then very late last night, early this morning, depending on how you want to look at it, Pentagon's Deputy Chief of Staff is the second Hegseth advisor removed amid the DOD leak probe. So first, Dan Caldwell was escorted out yesterday after being implicated during a leak investigation. Caldwell was put on administrative leave for an unauthorized disclosure, according to Reuters, adding that the investigation remains ongoing. The Pentagon spokesperson confirmed to the New York Post that Caldwell had been removed from his post. Now it's unclear what material Caldwell, who is a senior advisor in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, is accused of leaking and who he leaked it to. Now, I think this is important. Now, you can point to, and there'll be a lot of criticism of Hegseth in this scenario by the media who constantly attack Hegseth, but I think this is important to show that the leaks of the first term of Trump will no longer be tolerated. Caldwell's removal comes less than a month after Hegseth's Chief of Staff, Joe Casper, ordered the Director for Defense Intelligence to assist in a probe that into unauthorized disclosure of sensitive and classified information across the Department of Defense. Quote, recent unauthorized disclosures of national security information involving sensitive communications with principals within the Office of Secretary of Defense demand immediate and thorough investigation, Casper wrote back in March. The directive noted that polygraph tests could be administered in accordance with applicable law and policy as part of the hunt for the leaker. A report including a complete record of unauthorized disclosures within the Department of Defense and recommendations to improve such efforts is expected to be delivered to Hegseth at the end of the investigation. Casper wrote, I expect to be informed immediately if this effort results in information identifying a party responsible for an unauthorized disclosure, and that such information will be referred to the appropriate criminal law enforcement entity for criminal prosecution. Now, it is not known if Caldwell will face any criminal charges. You know, I don't know if this comes from, and the first thing most people are going to think of is this in regards to the Signal app and Goldberg being involved, the far left journalist being invited to that Signal chat. But as I mentioned, that was breaking around dinner time yesterday. And then early this morning, we learned that the Defense Department's Deputy Chief of Staff was placed on administrative leave following the steps of the other Pentagon official earlier in the day. Darren Seltnick, the Deputy Chief of Staff for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, has been removed. Seltnick is under investigation for the same leak probe that saw Hegseth aide Dan Caldwell escorted out of the Pentagon. Both Seltnick and Caldwell are on administrative leave. Now, this is going to raise some concerns about Hegseth and the people that he has around him. I understand that. The media is going to make it a bigger deal, I'm assuming, than need be. I think what this shows to me is a commitment by the Trump administration to end these leaks that plagued his first term. Now, according to the Pentagon's website, Seltnick is a retired, Air Force officer who has worked extensively in Veterans Affairs organizations. Mr. Seltnick leverages his extensive government and non-government experience advocating for veterans to position service members for productive post-separation lives from the first day they put on a uniform, his biography states. Now, both Seltnick and Caldwell worked for Concerned Veterans for America in the past, a group formerly led by Pete Hegseth. Reuters reported that Caldwell was placed on leave for an unauthorized disclosure, as we know. So we'll learn more about this. This is relatively breaking news from overnight, but 2 members of Hegseth's staff have been put on leave because of these disclosures. Your thoughts on that? Your thoughts on this, if this is another, if you will, negative towards Hegseth, at least in the media's mind, or is this actually, at the end of the day, the silver lining being a clear signal, no pun intended to use the term signal, but a clear signal that the Trump administration is proactively ending these leaks that were the bane of Trump's existence in his first term. Okay, when we come back, another breaking story from late last night. The Trump administration has referred, get this, New York Attorney General Letitia James for potential prosecution over an alleged mortgage fraud. If you have not heard this yet, we have the information for you, an opinion piece from the New York Post. This is not our foray into New York issues yet. We do have a couple New York issues. Also, just so many updates from yesterday's program, too, that we haven't even really gotten to yet. So asking you to stay with us. Oh, and a lot of talk about AOC. Whatever you think about that. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Keep those waves. Keep those comments coming in. We had so many comments yesterday. I think you guys must have been all commented out. They're more quiet this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
In today's world, securing your business is more important than ever. Protected with Boss Security's state-of-the-art alarm systems. When seconds matter, trust the experts. Boss Security is proud to safeguard local businesses across the Twin Tiers. Contact Boss Security today.
Invite you to discover what makes our school community so special, including the fact that everything, top-notch education, housing, healthcare, food, clothing, technology, and much more is provided to our students at no cost to our families. This is thanks to the generosity of our founders, chocolate maker Milton S. Hershey and his wife Catherine.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Dante Brown, Big Fox News, Corning.
The Big's website is
here, now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news, here, now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us on what potentially is your spring break. Comment from Fred. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Fred. Could this leak probe go back to the Biden administration leaking Israeli attack plans from over a year ago? No, I don't think so, Fred, only because these were people that were around Pete Hegseth that wouldn't have been a part of the Biden administration. So I'm glad that you reminded us of that, of course, and that might have been your ultimate goal. But no, I don't believe so. I wonder if it's the Signal app or just in general, some of the anonymous sources based on anonymity that we see sometimes in far left outlets. It could be that, could be the Signal leak. A lot of questions there. Okay, we'll find out more, though. New York Attorney General Letitia James, who infamously declared that, quote, no one is above the law when she targeted Donald Trump, was hit with a federal criminal referral for instances of alleged mortgage fraud. This happening late yesterday. Federal Housing Finance Agency Director William Pult sent the missive to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche, alleging that James had, quote, falsified records to get home loans for a property in Virginia that she claimed was her principal residence back in 2023 while still serving as a New York State prosecutor. That occurred in late August 2023, weeks before James began her civil fraud trial against the Trump Organization for overinflating the value of many of its properties, which ended in a $454 million judgment. So the irony here and kind of the beauty in it, going after her for mortgage fraud, reminiscent of what she attempted to do to bring down Trump so that he would lose the presidency, as Trump would say, which he did at the, what was it, this, well, it wasn't really a State of the Union, but that joint session, saying, how did that work out for you? The letter states, Miss James was the sitting Attorney General of New York and is required by law to have her primary residence in the state of New York, even though her mortgage applications list her intent to have the Norfolk, Virginia property as her primary home. It appears Miss James's property and mortgage-related misrepresentation may have continued to her recent 2023 Virginia property purchase in order to secure a lower interest rate and more favorable loan term. In February of 2001, James also purchased a 5-family dwelling in Brooklyn, but has consistently misrepresented the same property as only having 4 units in both building permit applications and numerous mortgage documents and applications, the letter wrote. Poole attached several documents also showing that James purchased another property with her father as a co-signer, but falsely listed the pair as husband and wife in 1983 and in 2000. Seems to be a trend that happens a lot. While this was a long time ago, it raises serious concerns about the validity of Miss James' representation on mortgage applications. Attorney General James is focused every single day, according to her office, on protecting New Yorkers, especially as this administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are, said her spokesperson. The letter referenced earlier media reports about falsifying her residence status to get a lower mortgage rate in Virginia and misrepresenting her 5-unit residence in Brooklyn that were first reported by the outlet White Collar Fraud. I don't think we need to go through the exact numbers, exactly how the kind of legalese of this all went, because it gets a little bit in the weeds. But Jonathan Turley, who I enjoy Jonathan Turley's writing. In this instance, it's for the New York Times or the New York Post, but I know he does it for others. He said, no matter how big, rich, or powerful you think you are, no one is above the law. Those words by New York State Attorney General Letitia James echoed throughout the media, lionizing her after her office secured a judgment against Trump for false business practices, including misrepresentation on loan documents. They may echo even louder this week as James finds herself the subject of a criminal referral for committing alleged financial fraud to secure her own property loans. For an attorney general who just prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress, the details and the referrals are particularly damning. Indeed, the greatest danger is that Letitia James's standard could be applied to Letitia James and guaranteeing that no one is above the law. That is her biggest danger. If they hold the same standards that she held to Trump against her. The allegations against James run from the demonstrably false to the downright bizarre. In securing a loan for a home in Virginia, James is accused of claiming through her representative that the property would be her principal residence. As the referral notes, primary residents receive more advantageous rates. However, as the sitting New York Attorney General of New York, James is required by law to have her primary residence in the state of New York. Notably, the Justice Department has prosecuted those who have committed this common fraud. For example, well, we don't have to go through all the examples of that, but it is rather common to have people brought up on charges. Now, James could claim that these representations were made by a third party acting on her behalf. However, that is precisely the argument that she repeatedly rejected in the Trump case, insisting that he was legally obligated to review all filings made in his name or that of his company. James is also accused of misrepresenting a 5-unit property in Brooklyn as a 4-unit property to receive better interest rates and to receive mortgage assistance through the Home Affordable Modification Program. The referral also includes a claim that James filed papers that listed herself and her father as a married couple. The referral notes that just last year, Baltimore State Attorney Marilyn Mosby was convicted by the Biden administration of filing a false mortgage application. Another case resulted in a guilty plea last week for fraudulent filings in a home loan. The timing for James could not be worse. The Trump civil case has languished on appeal for months with a long overdue opinion. The appellate argument did not go well for James in the case that resulted in a grotesque $500 million fine and a case where no one lost a dime. And if you're just joining us, this is Jonathan Turley. James accused Trump of inflating property value in filings, a common practice in the real estate field. It did not matter that the company warned banks to do their own evaluations. It did not matter that bank officials testified that they made money on the deal. Indeed, the victim wanted more business from Trump. None of that matters. James not only demanded an even greater fine, but wanted to foreclose on Trump properties after Trump was told to secure a ridiculous $455 million bond to simply secure appellate review. Throughout that case, James repeated her mantra that there would be no exceptions for the rich and powerful. She insisted that accuracy on such financial records is essential and must be enforced. Many of us objected that James was selectively targeting Trump after she ran for office on the pledge to nail him on some unspecified offense. James insisted that this was not lawfare and that she would prosecute anyone guilty of false or misleading statements on financial filings. She is now allegedly that person who had done that same exact thing. And again, I go back to say that Letitia James, one of the biggest players, in my opinion, that led to Trump's reelection. The American people were not putting up with this lawfare. Yes, she saw herself, and Alvin Bragg, saw themselves as heroic, as going down in history as the people bringing down Trump, and it had quite the opposite effect. People, and now when you see the hypocrisy in this, it adds even more to it. As she's filing fraudulent information to get better deals on her mortgage, the hypocrisy will make this an even bigger stain on history for the quote-unquote legacy of Letitia James, and, though he is not brought up in this, Alvin Bragg. However, she may cite the Supreme Court's recent decision in Thompson v. United States, which ruled that it does not criminalize statements that are merely misleading but are not false. The problem is that if proven, these statements are not misleading. They are false. Either this was James's principal residence or it was not. Either this was a 4-unit property or it was not. The allegation is that these statements coincided with loan conditions that would give James a financial advantage. James has one likely advantage. She is likely to be prosecuted by New York prosecutors using the ridiculous law weaponized against Trump. She emphasized that Trump did not have to produce a single penny of loss for a victim to be hit with $500 million in fine. But that was Trump, and this is New York. There will be no mob or media frenzy demanding charges. There will certainly be no James explaining how much prosecution are essentially, quote, because no matter how big, rich, or powerful you think you are, no one is above the law. Yeah, so the exact scenario doesn't play out in that sense because it was Trump and it was in New York. But breaking news from last night, and I thought it was so apropos, to sound fancier than I mean to be, that they're now investigating New York Attorney General Letitia James for potential prosecution over alleged mortgage fraud. That no one is above the law, no matter how powerful or rich. When we come back, we're going to tell you what Trump reveals as his proudest accomplishment, and then we're going to talk about what I believe to be these fake, well, not fake, that's not the right word, these town halls that are not, as the term I keep using, done in good faith, that Republicans are going to be attacked and the media is going to run with that. People have disagreed with me, commented into the program disagreeing with me. I think I will be able to offer proof of what I mean when we come back. So stay with us. Your comments when we come back as well. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Hustling plus overbooked, plus bustling, plus cleaning overlooked. It all adds up. With Mary Maid's professional cleaning services, you'll have one less thing to worry about. Mary Maid's, relax, it's done. Plus too busy, plus bustling, plus in a tizzy. It all adds up. With Mary Maid's professional cleaning services, you'll have one less thing to worry about. Mary Maid's, relax, it's done.
Ever feel like a spectator in your own life with chronic migraine? 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. In a survey, 91% of users wish they'd started sooner. So why wait? Talk to your doctor.
Botox effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as trouble swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Those with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions like rash, breathing problems, dizziness, neck and injection site pain, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions like ALS, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medicines like botulinum toxins, which may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Chronic migraine may still keep you from being there. Ask your doctor about Botox today. Learn how AbbVie can help you.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Again, thank you for joining us. We're going to go through some viewer comments. First off, Mark, you're always one step ahead of me. Mark saying they said that the AP has to fill the slot left open for the press. So the Trump team eliminated the slot and made a new one where the press has to compete for the job. Yes, I could jump ahead to that. The White House has now nixed the wire services guaranteed access to the president after the AP's court win. and it now expands print access. Let me read the other comments, and I'll fill you in on what that means. Mark also writes, I knew Trump would dig up dirt on Miss James. She did him wrong. So, in fact, Trump is sending out a message, don't mess with me. I agree. The same with, I think, with Pete Hegseth's 2 staff members being put on leave because of unauthorized leaks. I think that's sending out a message to the leakers, because that was such a major issue in his first term. Comment from a different viewer. Best news ever, but only if she is held accountable and charged. She is definitely not above the law and was out to get President Trump before he even took office for his first term. Well, she ran on the fact that she was going to bring down Trump. And again, I do believe history, if it's truthful, if it's not anti-Trump like it so often is for Republicans, history will prove that Letitia James and Alvin Bragg really played a major role in the reelection of Donald Trump. And if I were Democrats, I would be outraged at them, not praising them. So what Mark was referencing, the Trump administration stripped wire reporters of guaranteed daily access to the president following the Associated Press's victory in a lawsuit over its exclusion from the press pool. This breaking last night. From now on, the White House will set aside a second slot for print outlets, now including wire journalists, and the rotating group of reporters who get access to President Trump in small event spaces. Now we know that McFadden's ruling contained a and that was a judge, D.C. U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden. He ordered the AP get this press access, and the ruling contained a glaring loophole that said the AP cannot be treated worse than its peer wire services, which the administration took to greenlight the end of long-standing special wire access. So the AP ruined it for everyone else. I'm guessing they're not going to be invited to too many media cocktail parties. And the latest major change to the press pool, the composition of which influences the topics raised with the world's most powerful man, who answered more than 1,000 questions in mostly pool-only settings in his first month back in the White House. A senior White House official said the makeup of the pool is far more reflective of the media habits of the American people in 2025. The White House press policy continues to be grounded in fairness for all outlets that wish to cover the White House. Now, for decades, AP, Reuters, and Bloomberg were each granted access to all presidential events in smaller venues, such as the Oval Office, while journalists for major newspapers, magazines, and websites comprising the print pool rotation were allowed entry roughly once a month. The reassignment of the 3 wires would expand the White House's print rotation to 34 spots from the current 31. The addition of a second print pooler could nearly double the number of events into which most major print news outlets are admitted. Should the White House pull only from the existing outlets in the rotation? I know this gets a little bit wonky, and this is also coming off the heels of course, no longer having the White House Correspondents Association run who gets press access. So if the AP wants to be treated the same, the White House and the Trump administration essentially isn't going to be bossed around by the court, and says that the White House will now end wire services guaranteed access to the president after the AP court win, and they're now they're expanding the print access. So there you go. That was an interesting way of handling. Now, President Trump revealed yesterday on Fox with Rachel Campos Duffy, revealed what he believes his proudest accomplishment is in his historic first 100 days. He said, I think the thing that people now realize is that the border is 100%. It is like literally 100%. It's perfect now. And I don't know if you could tell perfect, but it's going to get better. And by the way, we want people to come in, but they have to come in legally, and everybody agrees to that. So securing the border was what he believes to be his proudest accomplishment. Your thoughts? What do you think Trump's greatest accomplishment has been in the first 100 days? So I don't think it's been the first 100 days. He also said we're making tremendous amounts of money, taking in billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs from other countries that for many, many decades just ripped off the United States. And it's time that we not allow that to happen. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to start off this conversation I keep mentioning that, and again, I get pushback on it, and I appreciate that pushback, and you can do the same if it's your opinion. That I don't believe that the groups and individuals calling for their congressperson to hold a town hall in person is done for the actual purposes of a town hall. It's done so that they can be disruptive, so that they can get the media attention on their groups that are heavily funded. I'm not saying every protester is getting paid, but there are protesters that are being paid. But it's also about the money being made by these organizations like Indivisible and others. So then they get the media coverage, and it also gives the media an opportunity to say, in some instances, conservative Republican in red district shouted down by his constituents, presenting it in a way that all of the people that voted for him or her are now completely opposed to him or her and the Trump administration. This happened yesterday, and I'm surprised that there are some Republicans still taking on the town halls. And again, I know I keep offering this disclaimer. I am very much pro town hall in good faith, done in a way to have the conversation. I was proud to help put together the town halls, the final town halls, as a matter of fact, of Congressman Tom Reed, who held so many town halls, that was known for it, in-person town halls, putting on the final town halls and putting on the town halls of Congressman Joe Sempolinski, helping to schedule those, helping to set those up. So very much pro town hall, but not when it's being done by people who now have taken a step farther and holding town halls where the congressperson isn't going to attend, just so they can have that empty chair. Or in one instance, I saw an outfit of someone dressed as a chicken with the congressperson's face on their belly. So it's fine if you want to protest, which, by the way, when have you had enough of the protests? What I mean by that is, so far this week, today is Wednesday, if you count the town hall that was not scheduled by the congressman, if you count that, there was 2 yesterday. Now, the afternoon one happened right in front of the congressman's office, but that's right when that weather hit. So that did not last long, but there was two protests yesterday, 1 on Monday. So you have 3 in 2 days. When do people stop attending? Now, I will say there was a very low turnout for the one yesterday afternoon, but that could have been because of the weather as well. But again, still getting media attention, still getting the media coverage, because the media loves to run with the protests. But I've got to ask. Listen, I was a member way back of, or not a member, but going to the tea parties and seeing those, and I've been to many, or at least kind of found myself walking by anyway, many protests on Market Street. And when do you get worn out? When you're up to 3 protests in 2 days. And there's been a protest, I think, every Monday, sometimes on Friday, and at least once a month there's a big one on Saturday. That's just here in Corning. That's not to say there's not other opportunities in Chemung and elsewhere. But anyway, tangent there. We're going to talk about these town halls in just a moment. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that? And our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community. Let's talk about weed. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Before we talk about town halls and before we take our last break of this hour, some comments from viewers. First up, look, the reason the Democrats lost was due solely to the fact that inflation was getting out of control. The fact that the Democrats opened our borders and were letting criminals run rampant while being hard on law-abiding citizens. The fact that the Democrats are shown to be deceptive liars, i.e. Biden is sharp as a tack, and the list goes on. But to imply that one hypocrite judge was largely responsible for the resounding loss the Democrats suffered is negligible in consideration of the aforementioned. Well, a couple things. I'm not downplaying inflation. I'm not downplaying the open borders at all. But I think you do, and it's not a judge, mind you, it's an Attorney General, Letitia James and Alvin Bragg. I think taking lawfare and adding that to the mix of what you mentioned played a big role. And the reason I say that is people don't like the powers that be telling them who they can and cannot vote for. And that's exactly what this lawfare was all about. I would also add, and I believe it's a part of this lawfare, when they originally tried to use the courts to keep Trump off the ballot altogether in the primary. The Democrats were doing this in the primary. Not their primary, mind you. The Republican primary, Democrats were trying to take him off the ballot. So when the American people, and I point to an example of this, and I pointed back during the campaign, that Dennis Quaid, the actor, when he was out promoting his film on Ronald Reagan, had said kind of the same thing, that he may not like Trump, but he did not like what the government was doing to keep him off the ballot or to essentially make him lose if he was on the ballot. That was even if he got far enough in the primary. I mean, they were trying to make it so he wasn't, that it was going to be Nikki Haley. So I don't disagree with the issues that you bring up, but to downplay the lawfare used against Trump, I think, is a disservice. I think it is a part of that kind of stew, if you will, of the issues that you brought up. So yes, inflation was huge. Open borders was huge. I would argue also too that when you said that Democrats are deceptive liars, I would say that's a part of lawfare. Lawfare showed that they were deceptive liars as well. So if you want to keep that off the list of reasons why Trump won, that's fine. I would respectfully disagree. Comment from a different viewer. This is Fred. Fred writes, on Monday, I commented about Biden not giving speeches. So on Tuesday, he did just that. He gave a speech. Evidently, everyone watches your show. Yes, well, thank you, former President Biden, for watching. I had no insider information, Fred said. I only made it through the first 3 minutes of old Joe praising his administration's head of Social Security. Blinders on when it comes to the waste and mismanagement of the agency that Doge has shown. There was also some just awkwardness. He used kind of an outdated racial term in the speech. I mean, it's kind of what we expected. This is why Democrats don't want him to help campaign. He said he'd get back in and help the Democrat Party make a comeback, and essentially his party laughed at him, saying, stay away, we don't want your help. And finally, our last comment before we take a break. A viewer writes in, I invited AOC to speak here in Elmira, but she didn't show up. Yes, there's the headline. That's how they're presenting these. Town hall held, and the congressperson didn't show up. Well, because it wasn't their event. Because it was a group of activists knowing full well. Again, what do you think about my theory? I think these people throwing town halls demanding that their congressperson attend. I honestly think they would be disappointed if their congressperson did attend. And the reason I say that is I think they like the optics and think that the political nature of putting an empty chair or having someone dress up as a chicken or having a cardboard cutout, they would rather have that kind of circus atmosphere than an actual constructive town hall. Got to take a break. I know, I keep saying I'm going to talk about these town halls and we don't, but I'd rather read your comments. Stay with us. Getting ready to wrap up hour number 1. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
And Bath Planet has one question for you. Do you feel lucky? Well, do ya? Bath Planet is excited to announce the Dream Bath Giveaway 5. In the past 2 years, we have given away 4 brand new Dream Baths, and now it's your turn. The winner will be able to design their own bath or shower, complete with hundreds of color and pattern options, multiple shelf styles, and matching safety features. It's the Dream Bath Giveaway 5. Enter now by scanning the QR code or stopping by either of our 2 locations.
Attention high school students. The Elmira Elks College Fair will be happening April 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Elmira Elks Lodge, located at 300 East Gray Street in downtown Elmira. It's open and free to the public. There's free parking. There'll also be mascots as you come in. There'll be up to 50 colleges, representatives from technical schools, universities, in-state, out-of-state, 2-year, 4-year, public and private schools. If you're looking to transfer, this will be the college fair for you. Also a chance to win an instant scholarship drawing at 8 o'clock. Come down to the Elmira Elks College Fair on April 30th.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on historic Marcus Street in the Gaffer District. A comment from a viewer, and I hope I'm not changing the meaning of your text. I think it was an autocorrect. So if I am changing the meaning, my apologies. The Democrats keep saying Trump is ending democracy. No, he is ending Democrat corruption. Unless I'm not familiar with the word demcrumption, or if that's maybe how you're trying to say it. I hope I'm not changing the meaning. But no, he is ending Democrat corruption. Okay, protesters were tased by cops at a chaotic Marjorie Taylor Greene town hall. 2 protesters were tased and several more were arrested during a wild town hall held by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is another reason why I have problems with town halls being held right now by Republicans. And I know people are saying, well, there are representatives. We want to speak to them. Number one, it's not, the people aren't going to these to speak to the representative. They're going to yell, scream, etc. Another problem I have is you can say, well, there are major safety issues. And you can say, well, that the congressperson should face that head on with the safety issues and not be scared, not let the terrorists win. That old saying, I'm not calling the protesters terrorists, but that old saying, not let the bad guy win. The problem with that is there's also, remember, Congress people have staff involved in helping them take down comments, names, things like that. You've got to worry about their safety as well. So it's not just their personal safety, it's those of their employees. And if you look, for instance, already in this, few 100 days of Trump, our Congressman Nick Langworthy had a white powder sent to one of his offices. One office was vandalized. So I think there is real safety concerns here, and I think Marjorie Taylor Greene's town hall highlights that issue I have. We're going to talk more about it. I'm sorry, it's not even really tangents. We just have so much to cover. I do want to talk about these. And again, I know people disagree with me that they believe there should be town halls being held right now, especially since Congress is on a 2-week break. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think they should be held? Not held? Something in the middle? Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Well, It's strained.
It is?
It's a repetitive motion injury. Do you do this a lot?
Well, I do give out a lot of checks. Now, what about this pain in my back?
Tender, huh? Do you play any contact sports?
Thank you.
Wow!
That explains it. Stick to friendly nods for the next couple of weeks.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Workforce invites you to the 2025 Regional Job Fair at SUNY Corning Community College, Wednesday, April 23rd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Area employers with immediate full-time, part-time, and internship opportunities will be on hand with many conducting on-site interviews. It's free and open to the public, so bring an ample supply of resumes and dress for success. Explore, network, and upgrade your career at the Regional Job Fair inside the gymnasium at SUNY Corning Community College. Academic Drive in Corning, Wednesday, April 23rd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Fresh denim to welcome the season. We're doing florals like you've never seen them. Effortless looks for whatever life brings. These are a few of our favorites for spring.
Let Macy's help you.
Well, it's hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I am your host, Frank Aiken. I'm so glad that you've joined us for the second hour, as we have gotten through maybe 1/10 of what I wanted to talk about so far. So we're going to pack a lot in. Comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. It appears that most protesters aren't at work who are speaking to people who aren't at work about something that isn't working. Perfect. That is a perfect way of describing the protest, because as I mentioned in the last hour, as of yesterday, so Monday and Tuesday, there had been 3 protests already. And numbers are starting to dwindle a little bit. I'm sure they'll have, I'm not to say at all that it's going away. I'm just saying that it's not what it was compared to the first few. So when does it become too unwieldy to go to all these protests? Comment from the different viewer to clarify that. They made up the term demcrumption. It's a tough one. Demcrumption, meaning Democrat corruption. Thank you. Thank you. So as I had mentioned, one disruptor at Marjorie Taylor Greene's town hall appeared to shove a police officer as he was being forcibly removed from the event, resulting in 2 officers deploying their tasers against him. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene telling the crowd, this is a peaceful town hall, ladies and gentlemen. This should not have to happen. That's why I don't believe now is the time to hold these town halls, because I don't believe in any way, shape, or form they are going to be peaceful. I don't think that is the ultimate goal when you have the people demanding these town halls. At least 6 protesters were let out by law enforcement during the hour-long forum, according to the police department. 3 arrests were made, 2 of which required the deployment of tasers, according to authorities. Now, most of the disruption began at the very beginning of Greene's remarks. Near the end of the town hall, several more protesters walked out, some screaming obscenities at the congresswoman. So is that, to my point, is that a town hall done in good faith? If those people that attended just went to scream obscenities at their congressperson. One man chanted, "Free Kilmar," in reference to the MS-13 gang member wrongly deported, quote unquote, wrongly deported to El Salvador last month. We don't need to go through the statement from law enforcement. That's pretty much what it is at face value. The police department said it worked in conjunction with several state law enforcement agencies to gather intelligence ahead of the event, which indicated the potential for disruptive behavior. Quote, plans were made in advance with this intelligence in mind. Sadly, as soon as the congresswoman began her presentation, several members of the audience became disruptive and created an imminent public safety threat for all in attendance. Their intentions were clear: to place the members of our beloved police department in a no-win situation in front of numerous media outlets. Yes, it was the ideal situation for them, and that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene, in my humble opinion, would be best not to hold these, because it's not just putting her and her staff in harm's way, but putting the police in a no-win situation. So the media headline can be the police, tackle constituents or tase constituents at a town hall. So it's a way to attack Republicans. It's a way to attack the police. It's a perfect news story. Green told reporters, "I'm glad they got thrown out. That's exactly what I wanted to see happen. This isn't a political rally or a protest. I held a town hall tonight. You know who was out of line? The protesters." Again, these are not being demanded, these town halls, for any other reason than to yell, to shout down, in some instances there, get violent at the town halls. Did anybody in the audience, and feel free, I'd love to hear from you. I don't think this is a setup. Did you attend yesterday's unplanned town hall? I don't know how else to word it, but of course it wasn't Congressman Langworthy who was holding the town hall. It was groups wanting to protest the fact that Nick Langworthy isn't holding town halls, though he is holding teletown halls. So they're holding kind of a mock town hall, maybe? I don't know what term to use, where they invite him. He does not schedule it. They know that. As I argue, I think when they hold these like they did with Claudia Tenney, I think they'd be disappointed if their congressperson actually showed up because they want the circus political optics of it. But did anybody attend this yesterday that was held here in Corning? Okay. But to kind of quote-unquote prove my point, I don't know why I said quote-unquote, to kind of prove my point, and I say that this is being used by the media to attack Republicans and attack Trump. Tempers flare as few Republicans hold in-person town halls, writes CNN. Republicans faced frustrated constituents at town hall meetings Tuesday, offering a glimpse at the building anger over Donald Trump's sweeping overhauls of the federal government among portions of the electorate. And in the face of it, the deference GOP lawmakers continue to show the president. So according to CNN, and the way you would read this, and this has been the instance in most of these articles written about the town halls, you would think every constituent is now against Trump, is against their congressperson. Now let's be honest. If you think your congressperson is doing a good job, you might not go out to a town hall. You think Trump's doing a good job, you may not go out to a town hall. But if you cannot stand your congressperson because you're, a different political affiliation, it's not too hard to get 20 like-minded people to be disruptive at a town hall, and then the media can run with it as if it's every constituent in a congressional district. But continuing, in Iowa, Chuck Grassley was repeatedly urged to stand up to Trump and push back against the executive branch. We would like to know what you, as a people, the Congress, who are supposed to rein in this dictator, what are you going to do about it? And the demands to me is kind of interesting because it goes back to like the election and even a little bit before that on college campuses. There's always these list of demands and kind of the attitude of you must come to the town hall or what are you going to do about this dictator? None of this is done. This is a kind of a political rally, which, as to Marjorie Taylor Greene's point, is not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a town hall. Those are very different things. In Georgia, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's highly scripted event marked a dramatic departure from the town hall held by the Senate's most senior Republican. Instead of taking questions face-to-face, the far-right Trump ally mocked the critical questions she received, which she had required be submitted in writing. The irony of that is I saw yesterday a post online that they were asking for questions and comments to be submitted for the kind of mock town hall that was happening here locally to kind of protest Nick Langworthy only holding teletown hall meetings. I thought that was ironic. So now this is what Marjorie Taylor Greene gets for her troubles. People shouting at her, screaming at her, the violence, but also for her troubles, she gets almost mocked by the mainstream media for what they're calling a scripted event where she had questions that were submitted in writing beforehand. Oh my goodness. I'm not going to go through what the people said, but it says here members of Congress are at home for a 2-week recess, and in the opening days of lawmakers' break from Washington, many in the GOP have so far heeded the advice of party leadership and declined to hold in-person meetings. But on Tuesday, both Grassley, the 8-term senator, and Greene held public events. Though weeks removed from eruptions of anger at town halls earlier this year, the lawmakers at times face similar ire over the Trump administration's efforts to slash spending and shrink the federal workforce, as well as tough questions over its hardline immigration policy and bounds of the president's power. So people are really upset about the efforts to slash spending and shrink the federal workforce? I mean, really, explain. Now, Green said she's going to support the president. We don't need to know all about that. In one instance, a woman had submitted a question asking whether the congresswoman would push back against Trump's tariffs and his chainsaw approach to cutting spending. It was met with scattered applause from the audience. Green, in her normal tone, mocking, "Oh, poor Christina, poor Christina. I'm sure, Christina, you think you're pretty smart. But the reality is you are being completely brainwashed by whatever source of news you listen to." What am I going to do? I'm going to stand by the president. I'm going to support my president. I'm going to fight for his agenda with everything I have in Congress. Now, I don't think the specific topics of what they were discussing is necessary. But while the majority of town hall meetings scheduled across the country so far are being held by Democrats, the party has faced its own criticism from voters, and that's something that's not getting reported on as frequently. But when Democrats hold town halls, their like-minded supporters are coming there, but being critical of them for not being enough of the quote-unquote face of resistance, not doing enough to fight Trump. And again, I don't want to quote particular town hall individuals. I don't think it's necessary, but that is just me and my opinion that we've been talking about the town halls and why I believe, since they're not being demanded in good faith, that for safety issues, the Congress people at the time being should wait, again, for safety issues. Okay, update, and we'll read your comments. I see a ton of comments coming in, and listen, if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear from you. I really would. Harvard. No. We'll talk about Harvard when we come back, and we will get to your comments because I see so many comments coming in. I ran a little bit late last hour. I don't want to do it this hour. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
I told myself I was okay with my moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis symptoms.
With my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. But just okay isn't okay.
And I was done settling.
If you still have symptoms after trying Humira, Rinvoq works differently. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill from the makers of Humira that can rapidly relieve joint pain, stiffness, and swelling as fast as 2 weeks for some. And even at the 3-year mark, many people felt this relief. Rinvoq can stop joint damage, and in PSA, can leave skin clear or almost clear.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin, serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events, infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant, or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Ask your rheumatologist if switching to Rinvoq is right for you.
And take back what's yours.
Football's newest show breaks down all things NFL. GMFB Overtime.
Check out top highlights, player interviews, special guests, and everything in between. 5 days a week.
GMFB Overtime. It's football for everyone.
Boy, look at that weather, huh? Thank you to Boss Security. We don't blame you for that view, but thank you to Boss Security. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I apologize. I was reading all of your comments, and I didn't get to all of them. So what I mean is I like to pre-read them just so I don't get tongue-tied. I will get to them after the next break, which will be shortly because I ran late. But thank you for the waves and thank you for all the comments. I've got 3 down here and there's probably another 7 that I didn't have a chance to get to. So we will get to them. I'm not ignoring you if you don't make this first cut. These are just the first ones to come in. First up, Fred writes, I think Nick deserves a spring break too and should not have to endure the hostilities of a sponsored Democrat mob. Marjorie Taylor Greene is turning into a real asset in the Republican leadership. Thank you, Fred. Comment from a different viewer. Just curious, are the Democrats holding any town halls? If so, do you know who and when? I'd love to attend one of their circuses. Ha ha. Yeah, well, they are, but they're getting pushed back from their base. I don't know of any locally because the Democrat, they're at the congressional level. Most of this is congressional level, of course. There aren't too many Democrats. I can't think of who the closest Democrat congressperson is to us. But if I hear anything, I'll let you know. Comment from a different viewer. You are spot on. Well, thank you. I always like when people say that. Years ago, I attended a town hall where Tom Reed was speaking in Lindley, and it wasn't too far into it when a disruptor who teaches in Elmira, very familiar, and he knew her by name, and asked her to allow others to speak so they aren't there to do anything but harass and annoy, and it's disrespectful. And it's not fair to those who are there to get information that they might not otherwise know to make their own decisions. It's obnoxious, and I wouldn't blame anyone if they didn't show up, but it's not fair to the people that do. That's the problem. And then you add the insult to that. So you go to a town hall, as a congressperson, you get yelled at, screamed at. You don't get to have the conversation. You don't get to present the information. And then the media runs with it as an example of all your constituents hating you and hating the Trump administration. And throw in there the safety issues, the real safety issues, not just for the congressperson, but for their staff. And in this case, attendees. Okay, we are going to get the rest of your comments. That's all I had a chance to read. Okay, Trump has floated the idea of stripping Harvard of its tax-exempt status after withholding $2.2 billion in federal funds. We've been talking about Harvard. Again, it's kind of like the people fighting to bring Garcia back. It just seems like it's a tough position to be in to argue. Same in this situation. Harvard standing up for, I guess, the anti-Semitic protests that have left Jewish students feeling threatened. Trump wrote on Truth Social yesterday, perhaps Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status and be taxed as a political entity if it keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired supporting sickness. Remember, tax-exempt status is totally contingent on acting in the public interest. Now, Obama blasted Trump. That should come as no surprise, calling it unlawful demands on Harvard. Harvard has set an example for other higher education institutions, rejecting an unlawful and ham-handed attempt to stifle academic freedom while taking concrete steps to make sure all students at Harvard can benefit from an environment of intellectual inquiry, rigorous debate, and mutual respect, Obama posted on X. Let's hope other institutions follow suit. So again, you're making the argument, that's former President Barack Obama, you are making the argument that Harvard is standing up for some moral issue when that moral issue is allowing and continuing to facilitate, word of the day, these anti-Semitic protests. It just seems like very wrong-headed to me. Seems like a very tricky spot to be in if that's what you're defending. But Harvard taking that stance to the tune of $2.2 billion in federal funds, and now with the potential of their tax-exempt status being removed. Representative Seth Moulton said that there is work to do on anti-Semitism on Harvard's campus, but what doesn't happen in America is for an authoritarian government to come in and tell you what you can or cannot teach, to tell you who you can or cannot hire, to tell you what you can or cannot read. Well, they don't have to give them the federal money either. You can't have it both ways. There's always kind of that interesting idea when it comes to free speech in that sense that there are still consequences. Yes, there's free speech. These protesters who are pushing the pro-terrorism message, the anti Semitic, anti-Israel, anti-police, anti-America sentiment. They can do that, but there are consequences. Just like if you held those beliefs and went into your place of employment and started shouting those beliefs, your employer could say, you no longer work here. There are consequences. But Moulton said they have work to do when it comes to anti-Semitism. They've also made a lot of progress. I'm very proud of the progress that they have made. But that's the way it works in a free society, is that people get to criticize you and people get to disagree with you. And you know what? In response to my very pointed criticism at my alma mater, they have done some things, including having the president come and meet with me and talk about the changes that he is undertaking to make sure that they do crack down on anti-Semitism. But what doesn't happen in America is for an authoritarian government to come in and tell you what you can or cannot teach, to tell you what you can or cannot hire, to tell you what you can or cannot read. It's just so fundamentally anti-American. It's like a fascist or a communist regime that we're seeing from this administration. Of course, the whole hypocrisy about it is that this is also the administration that's saying we want to preserve freedom, we want to expand liberty. They're doing the opposite. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey was also on, let's see, Moulton was on CNN. Healy was on MSNBC, saying Harvard is saying enough is enough. And let me be clear, I was a civil rights lawyer. I was attorney general. There is no place for anti-Semitism in society, on our college campuses or anywhere else. And there's no question that Jewish students have been treated poorly on campuses around the country. It's also the case that colleges need to do more, and in fact, Harvard has done more. This is the point that people need to really understand, that this is really just another attempt by Donald Trump to silence those who disagree with him, to bully, in this case, our colleges and universities in the same way he's bullied and tried to silence law firms and corporations and everyday people. Well, the protests have been very anti-Semitic, very pro-Hamas. I don't understand why this is silencing his critics. They're speaking out about Middle East policy maybe, but it's not specific protest to Trump. Look, it's an abuse of power, said Governor Healey. It smacks of the authoritarian regimes of past, where you talk about silencing law firms, companies, colleges, and universities, when you talk about disappearing people from our streets, including foreign students here on work visas. It also has really significant economic consequences for this country. If you truly believe in America first and you want to restore manufacturing here, you know what you shouldn't be doing? Sending our researchers and our scientists and the next generation of entrepreneurs overseas, which is what Donald Trump is doing by cutting funding to our colleges and universities. Again, there are consequences. Chris Matthews, who's far left, former MSNBC host, he actually says Trump is smart to target Harvard and the elite universities over anti-Semitism. I have to say that the administration sometimes sets its targets in the right direction. This again, Chris Matthews. The elite universities in this country are not exactly covered in roses right now in the way they've handled these demonstrations. This was on Morning Joe yesterday. This in reference to the anti-Semitic protest. I think everybody, whether you're a Jewish student or not, I think you want to have a right to go to a class when you're paying $90,000 a year in tuition. You have a right to go to class and be taught by your professors and enjoy the rights of a better university, a good university. And in fact, the fact that they had to be told to do this, that they had to be told to let students go to school, which is what this is about, that they had to be told to do, that they had a problem in their own heads. So I think the elite universities are taking a beating right now. It's probably a smart move. It's Trump going after the elites. He knows what he's doing politically. It's not going to hurt him. I think these universities have enough money to cover their legacies. They've got a lot of money to handle it. So they're going to be able to take care of themselves. I don't want to be loose about this, but I think Trump targeting these universities is probably not the worst move he's ever made. You see how he still kind of has to parse his words? Now, Vanity Fair's Molly Jong-Fast pushed back, likening Trump's move to Thought Police 101. They're using anti-Semitism as a cloak. If this administration really cared about anti-Semitism, there's a lot of stuff they could do. This is not about that. This is about targeting universities. This is about targeting speech. This is right out of an authoritarian playbook. So we've heard a lot this morning about authoritarian playbooks, right about dictatorships, constitutional crisis. But Matthews did say, I think there's a real challenge. I asked my friends who are Jewish, I said, are you worried? And they say yes. And this is a problem. And the treatment of those students, and at Columbia, it's a serious problem. You don't stop a kid from going to school their parents paid for. It's serious. And it was judged. It was against those students and said you can't go to class even to take an exam. Well, seriously, if you don't think that's a problem, you've got a problem yourself, he replied to Jong Fast. Again, you've got Harvard and people like Jong Fast and some of these politicians who are standing on the side of the anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, anti-American protests. Not a place I would want to have put myself in. That is where they are at. We have one other thing on that. My goodness, we have so much to get to. Keep the comments coming in. We've got about 10 to catch up on, and I appreciate it. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back.
I invite you to discover what makes our school community so special, including the fact that everything, top-notch education, housing, healthcare, food, clothing, technology, and much more is provided to our students at no cost to our families. This is thanks to the generosity of our founders, chocolate maker Milton S. Hershey and his wife, Catherine.
Anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
The Big's website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking roof cam. Look at that view this morning. I know. Thank you to Boss Security for bringing us the roof cam. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to all of these viewer comments and keep them coming in. We got some great comments. First off, I witnessed a woman, this is from a viewer, I witnessed a woman in the Corning Library yesterday carrying on about our congressman. She was rallying about how he didn't show up, quote, at his town hall meeting, end quote. She complained that he was on vacation with his family and proceeded to call him names loudly. I almost approached her and asked her if she scheduled the town hall meeting and if she hates Trump calling people names too. It's a double standard when it comes to the name calling. But he didn't. It's not his town hall meeting. Just like that one viewer said, well, I invited AOC to Elmira and she didn't show. Why didn't she show up to her meeting in Elmira? Well, here, I'll put it here. I invited, on Monday's show or maybe Friday's show, Chuck Schumer to be on the air here on Frankly Speaking, and he didn't show up to his interview. Is that the right way to word that? But see, there's obviously the bias in what they're trying to say. They're trying to paint a picture really by lying and fabrication to make it look as if he was a no-show because he was so terrified of them or something. They're the ones that scheduled it, not him. They knew exactly what they're doing, and it goes back to my theory that I think those people that hold those town halls would actually be disappointed if their congressperson showed up, because I think that goes, it would destroy their optics, their political circus. And that's what they really want. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank, from the wilds of Caton. Good morning. Thank you for that. Have you noticed that the majority of the protesters are middle-aged or older white people, none of which are at work, nor do they look hungry? I'm not sure what you're saying about that last part. I would say it's an older demographic. I don't know how they do it. It's got to be an older demographic. Now, this is a little bit different this week because you do have spring break. And unfortunately, I did see some protesters on Monday that had brought their, I would assume, grandchildren to the protests. Because if there's one thing I know about young kids out of school, they care about Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, tariffs, probably the topics that they really want to focus on their spring break. I was a little disheartened to see not young people get involved at all, but when you can tell that's not, they're a little too young to be understanding the inner workings of tariffs. I don't know if I understand the inner working of tariffs, but I don't know how they go attend. As I said, there's 3 protests in the since Monday. So 3, 1 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday. All right, comment, and thank you for that. Good luck in the wilds of Caton. Comment from a different viewer. This is Rick. Rick writes in, town halls should be held. Organizers need to put some ground rules around how the meeting will flow and what will and won't be acceptable during the meeting. If you can't comply, stay home. Nothing gets settled in a shouting match. But I will say people are lit up about representatives not sticking up for them and their voice when it comes to government firings or tariffs and what they have done to their monetary values. It's pretty easy to get wound up when tens of thousands are fired, your savings are crashing, the person that is supposed to stick up for you in Washington is afraid of Trump, so they sit there on their hands. Couple things. Number one, so the organizers, meaning the congressperson's office, setting up ground rules. Let's be truthful with each other. The ground rules aren't going to be followed. I mean, the people that are willing to get tased at Marjorie Taylor Greene's because they wanted to shove a police officer, those people aren't going to say, "Oh, I didn't understand that there was a set of 10 rules that I had to follow." These people, their main goal is to boo, hiss, object in any way that they can, yell, shout down the congressperson. And all it takes is a handful of them to disrupt the whole, not even a handful, 1 or 2, to disrupt the whole town hall. So then are you required to, while you're organizing, bring security, to bring the police? I think you would have to at this point. You also have to worry about not just the safety of the congressperson because of the violence that we're seeing in the streets, but you also have to worry about the congressperson's staff, because they have to have people around them in scenarios like that. And the security. Look at the police officer getting shoved at Marjorie Taylor Greene's. So yes, organizers could put together a laundry list of rules, and they just won't be followed. And I think that's a part of what I'm saying when these aren't being demanded in good faith, because those people know, the same ones that find it very clever, find it very enthralling to have a town hall where they know their congressperson won't attend, where they can then later say it was his town hall when it was not scheduled by him, and then have people like in the past in a chicken uniform or a cardboard cutout or a chair. It's more about the circus. It's not about, it is about a shouting match is what they want. And that's not to your point, Rick, but what I'm saying is that's what they want. They don't want the conversation. I would love that. As I said, I have no problem with those town halls. That's not what these town halls are about. The other issue I take with what you said, Rick, is the assumption that our congressperson is afraid of Trump, so they sit on their hands. That's the assumption that they don't support what Trump's doing. That's the same narrative that they're trying to paint in the media when they hold these town halls, that no person in that congressperson's district likes Trump now, that everybody's against Trump's policies. So to assume that, and I don't know where you live, Rick, and it's not relevant to this conversation necessarily, but any congressperson, whether we're talking about Nick Langworthy, Claudia Tenney, I'm trying to think of what is that GT in Pennsylvania on the border, but whoever it is, you're assuming that they're afraid of Trump. That's coming from kind of a political prism that if you hate Trump or these organizers hate Trump, everybody must hate Trump. That's not the case. You're assuming that, and I think Congressman Langworthy has been very clear from the early days of his political career that he has been a supporter of Trump. So it's not afraid of Trump and that he's sitting on his hands. He's not doing either of those things. He supports the MAGA agenda. I'm not putting words in Nick Langworthy's mouth. I'm just saying if you look at his history and how he's voted and how he supported Trump, he has been a Trump supporter. So I think I understand your point, but I think that's coming from a false narrative that these Congress people are afraid of Trump and that they're sitting on their hands, when it's quite the opposite. They support the MAGA agenda and support the agenda that helped Trump and Republicans win in a landslide in November. Comment from a different viewer. This was hilarious. 34 degrees and snowing in Painted Post. And then a meme of Lucy. Was that Lucy? From Charlie Brown cussing. It made me laugh. I appreciate that. Yes, not what we expected. All right, Ken writes in, I agree that town hall meetings at this time are fruitless and having a dialogue between a politician and their constituents. Currently, town halls will mostly serve as a vehicle for the left to get their message out that Trump and the Republicans are hurting the nation. But I think the main reason for the protests is that it takes the focus off the fraud and corruption that the Trump administration is uncovering. Yeah, that's another problem that I have when they say that it's about cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, when this administration has made it crystal clear that is not going to be the case. As a matter of fact, Trump has looked for ways to not have taxes on your Social Security. Also, as Doge and Elon Musk said, they're trying to save money so you get more back in Social Security. So they're pushing, again, a false narrative, our other word of the day. Comment from a different viewer. Thank you, Ken, by the way. Given civil rights laws, these prejudiced anti-Jewish punks, meaning on college campus, these protesters, are breaking the law and are therefore criminals. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer before we go to break. Colleges used to teach the truth. They clearly are flush with money. They can lie on their own dime. Thank you. Michael Goodwin says Harvard is jeopardizing $9 billion in federal funding to lead the radical left's anti-Trump agenda. So much for the best and the brightest. The Democrats have finally found the leader of the resistance to President Trump. No, it's not Senator Cory Booker and his self-serving 25-hour floor speech, nor is it Bernie Sanders or his first-class flying socialist partner, AOC, or any of the misguided mayors and governors shielding migrant criminals from deserved deportation. And it's certainly not the idiotic vandals defacing Teslas with swastikas. Instead, the honor of leading the resistance against the President of the United States goes to none other than Harvard, because the New York Times, the spokesman and ringleader for the radical left, says so. The Gray Lady has appointed Harvard to the job. Yes, many people really supporting Harvard in this. And this is a good piece. We don't have time for it because I got to take a break. It says here, because remember, Columbia wanted to have it both ways. They tried to play the game. So the one thing it cannot do is have it both ways. If it takes federal money, it has to play by federal rules. The trade-off is so simple that even Harvard should be able to understand it. Let's take a break, and we're going to rush through some stories quick. Keep reading your comments, please. Keep them coming in. We're having a great discussion this morning, and I appreciate it. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. We have a great discussion every morning. I don't know why I worded it that way, but we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Don't have to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Shell Missy.
Face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
book smarts versus street smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You're faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
Haley Livingston, Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Look at that view. Thank you to Boss Security for bringing us that view. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Yes, that is snow. I think it goes without saying here on April the 16th. Okay. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A couple comments from viewers. Mark writes in, I get a lot of updates from the office of Nick Langworthy. And trust me, he is on Trump's side. But like Frank says, Republican town halls are under Democrat attacks. Yep, we don't have to keep relitigating this. You're right, though, Mark. He's not afraid of Trump. He supports Trump's agenda, and that's crystal clear. If you don't believe me, you don't want to take my word, sign up for his newsletter. Comment from a different viewer. It was really annoying that Taylor Swift didn't show up to my niece's birthday party after we contacted her people. What the heck? That's the rule. I think you're exactly right. Thank you for that. That is the rule. As long as I invite, as of right now, I'm inviting Chuck Schumer to be on Frankly Speaking. And I did it on Monday, and he has not shown up for his interview. He avoided this interview. This person inviting Taylor Swift to their niece's birthday party, she didn't show. The headline now reads, and I read it to you yesterday or Monday with Claudia Tenney, where it said Claudia Tenney, no show for town hall. Not a town hall she scheduled. Just like that person at the library that the viewer referenced, saying he didn't show up for his town hall meeting. It was not his town hall meeting. You can't just invite somebody and then they don't show up, say that they're a no-show, because that would mean that, like I said, Chuck Schumer is a no-show for his interview on Frankly Speaking. That Taylor Swift is a no-show to your niece's birthday party. And that's the point you're making, I know. But that's what's so frustrating, in letting the media push that biased headline, push that bias message. Speaking of the Harvard scenario and the anti-Semitism on college campuses, suspected arsonist Cody Balmer, who targeted Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, who is Jewish, said that that he had issues over Shapiro and what he, quote, wants to do to Palestinian people. Balmer, who was needed to know that the governor will not take part in his plans for what he wants to do to the Palestinian people, according to the warrant. All right. Let's see. How are we doing? All right. Quickly on New York. Just a couple quick New York issues on AOC. New York state lawmakers claim they have a framework deal on revamping the discovery law, but Governor Hochul only says, quote, it sounds like good news. I believe we have a framework on having the discovery issue resolved. I just briefed my conference, and we're in a good place, said Carl Hasty. And all Governor Hochul would say is, sounds like good news, as if she's not a part of it. Now, according to a new poll, Governor Hochul's approval rating, dismal. 39% of New Yorkers approve of her job as governor. When asked a different way, 31%, or let me try that again. When asked a different way, 35% of residents statewide think Hochul is doing either an excellent, 9%, good, 26%, or, where's the other? Oh, and 56% think her performance is either fair or poor. Well, that's a weird way of wording that. Okay, majority of New Yorkers perceive our quality of life to have gotten worse. 55% of New Yorkers think the quality of life in the Empire State has gotten worse. More New Yorkers say state's economy is deteriorating. 64% of adults statewide and the same portion of registered voters in the state say New Yorkers' economy is getting worse. Little more than 1 in 4 New Yorkers expect their personal finances to improve. More than 8 in 10 New Yorkers think cost of New York living is unaffordable. Near 82% of New Yorkers report the cost of living in New York is not very affordable or not affordable at all. And more than 3 in 10 say they plan to leave New York. 32% of New Yorkers say they plan to leave New York within the next 5 years. So we've talked about this 5-year plan in the past on this program. There's so many people making plans. Maybe it's because of family or because of business and not retired yet or whatever, but making the plans to leave in 5 years. 6 in 10 New Yorkers say New York is moving in the wrong direction. And finally, Schumer's approval rating has dropped, and the majority call for Schumer to be replaced as a minority leader. Okay. Oh, by the way, did you see that Andrew Cuomo missed out on $4 million in public campaign funds? New York City has even bigger taxpayer giveaways to candidates. So he screwed up. He didn't get the signatures and amount of donors that he needed. And so it cost him $4 million of taxpayer money that he would have received for campaign funds. Wow. Oh, by the way, as a reminder, I know we've been talking about town halls. I know we've been talking about events like that. Well, the Community Connection event held by NYSEG, don't forget that is today. Now, this is not, I'm making this clear, this is not a town hall. And it doesn't have a formal presentation. It's a chance for you to meet with NYSEG in a face-to-face customer service type scenario. But if you are interested, it is today from 4 till 7 p.m. at the Campbell Fire Department. That's 8766 State Route 415 in Campbell. So again, today, 4 to 7, the NYSEG Community Connection event. Don't miss it. If you go, I would like to hear how it went. All right, when we come back, a little bit about AOC, reading some more of your messages. Such great messages this morning. We started off slow, and now we're going like great guns, so I appreciate it. We'll be right back, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Please stay with us.
Hard water makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
One of the I like most about being a mortgage loan officer is helping people make dreams come true.
The most satisfying part is seeing people succeed in accomplishing the purchase of a home.
Whether it's refinancing for a lower monthly payment, a lower interest rate, or to tap into your home's equity.
Whether you're buying your first home or looking to refinance, First Heritage will be here to help.
My name is Cindy.
My name is Tracy.
My name is Peter.
My name is Deb.
We are here to guide you.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go through some viewer comments. Frank, if the Democrats are happy with the New York State budget this year, it should be cut in half to lower our taxes for the working people of New York. Well, look at those poll numbers. I mean, people making their 5-year plan. It's a story as old as time. That's the problem with one-party rule in Albany. Comment from a different viewer. I missed one. What did I do? I hit the wrong button. I think I deleted one. Ken writes in, there is no credible reason for universities that have huge endowments to be given millions or billions of taxpayer money. I would agree with smaller colleges and universities receiving federal aid to keep more higher educated choices available for families let me try that again, to keep more higher education choices available for families that don't have the financial depth for their children to attend Ivy League schools. The only reason I can think of for funding universities is that our left-leaning politicians want the universities to respond to the funding by continuing the propagandizing of the students with liberal ideas. Yes, and if you look at the numbers in reference to how many Republicans versus Democrats are working on like the institutions like Harvard and Cornell, it's startling. I mean, it's only is basically like one party rule in Albany. It's only one-sided. Even look at the commencement speakers. Very rarely do you see, unless it's like a Hillsdale, will you see a conservative speaker at commencement. Yes, thank you. Someone bring up the fact that Letitia James is being investigated for mortgage document fraud. That was reported. We talked about it in the 6 o'clock hour. Huge breaking story, kind of in reference to, of course, Letitia James going after Trump for similar. The Trump administration refers New York Attorney General Letitia James for potential prosecution over alleged mortgage fraud. Yes, there is a certain level of irony and beauty and all of that. I can't wait, says this viewer. Cory Booker, a.k.a. Spartacus, is considered leading a trip of congressmen to El Salvador to demand a member of the violent gang MS-13 to be returned to the United States. Democrats are going all in on flooding the streets with gangs. Good luck in 2026 for this hammer to drop. Thank you for that comment. I didn't know. Yeah, that would make sense that Cory Booker would try to lead that. I had not heard that. I know that Chris Van Hollen from Maryland has said he's going to El Salvador to show support for the family. I guess if that's the side you want to be on. And finally, from this viewer, say the word, Frank. I'll get you a cardboard cutout of Chuck Schumer so you can interview him. It would be a hilarious send-up of the AstroTurf Town Hall folks. No, please don't do that. I appreciate it. It would be hilarious. Then I got to do something with a cardboard cutout of Chuck Schumer. It looked weird to just throw it out right after I got it, after we did the little skit. So no, please don't waste your hard-earned money. I'll just put up a fake cardboard cutout of him on the screen. How about that? I don't want you to waste your money. Buzz builds around Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's future, writes the far left Hill. And they talk about these rallies that are being held with her and Bernie Sanders. As I mentioned, the New York Times all but endorsed her for Senate leadership and president. The excitement around the tour has led to questions about Ocasio-Cortez's future amid signs of Democrat frustration with the party's current leadership. Basil Smikle, former executive director of the New York State Democrat Party, said she represents the next generation of Democrat politics. Keep that in mind when we talk about the future of the Democratic Party. I think that she has been saying, either tactically or explicitly, is that there needs to be a generational shift in the party's leadership and its message to voters. She essentially did that in her race against Joe Crowley. Now, what's interesting is this change in leadership. We brought you the story yesterday that people are upset with Pelosi staying in there. I don't know if we're going to get to it. Let me do this. AOC, just to kind of back up what the Hill is saying, AOC hauled in $9.6 million in cash in the first quarter fundraising. $9.6 million. For context, the next highest quarterly haul raked in just over $4.4 million. AOC has her strongest ever quarter, raising over $9.5 million from 266,000 individual donors for an average of just $21. AOC doesn't take a dollar from lobbyists or corporate PACs. Our top donor professions are teachers and nurses. 64% were first-time contributors. So there's something there. Now, people are saying she's taking a page out of Kamala's playbook because she debuted another strange accent at one of her rallies. So she's falling into that trap like Kamala did, using another new accent. Interesting. Now, Kristen Fleming has a piece at the New York Post saying, I went inside an AOC and Bernie Sanders fighting oligarchy tour. Now, we know that she's conservative, Kristen Fleming. So you can find that for yourself in the New York Post. I don't have enough time to read it all. But she said it also felt like, dare I say, a Trump rally, only with different heroes and villains. Different merchandise, too. One vendor said their most popular item was a Gulf of Mexico t-shirt, showing how the new Trump agenda is agitating the left, but also sparking a business opportunity for resourceful merchants. Here, the oligarchs, mostly Elon Musk, along with Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, were on the stake. There's no mention of the left's robust meddling billionaire class, Soros, Pritzker, Reed, Hoffman, or the fact that Bezos and Zuckerberg aren't, despite attending Trump's inauguration, known conservatives. There are boos for SpaceX and big cheers for free healthcare, migrants, kindness, and any mention of the working class. So, interesting. I don't want to go through any more of this. I got to take a break. Keep the last-minute comments coming in. We'll read them when we return and wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
When you think Hesselsen's. Hesselsen's has the largest selection of work boots in the area. Composite and steel toe boots, Met Guard boots, soft toe boots, and hikers, duty and western boots all in one location. Hesselsen's at Meyer Heights. Hesselsen's has men's and ladies boots in all sizes and widths. Choose from the largest names in the industry. Danner, Carolina, Timberland Pro, Keen Utility, Thorogood, Area, and Georgia, to name just a few. Hesselsen's has been locally owned and operated since 1955, so when you think local service and great selection, think Hesselsen's. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Dante Brown, Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, reading some of these comments as we call it a day. We get so many great comments, and it really keeps the show light and fun. Okay. Jack likes the idea of a Chuck Schumer interview with a cutout of some kind, or I could just put up the picture. It would be very easy to predict how he would answer your question. Sounds like a really fun project. It would be fun, but please, I don't want a cardboard cutout. We'll come up with something where I can just put it up on the screen. Comment from a different viewer. AOC, given that she is a Democrat, will spend the $8 million in half a day. Yes, if it's anything like Kamala Harris's campaign, that is very true. One viewer said the Chuck Schumer cardboard would be a nice dartboard. Well, thank you very much. Ken writes in, I am taking up a collection to give El Salvador's president, asking him to keep Spartacus there when he visits. I'm also hoping Adam Schiff goes with him. It could be a twofer. Thanks, Ken. And finally, how about this for a comment? Very good show today, Frank. Keep up the good work. Really enjoy your show. Well, thank you for watching. I really enjoy everybody reaching out and making such great comments. Quickly, James Carville is kind of fed up with his party, the Raging Cajun, said, I don't think we can work together on pronoun politics. If this election did not teach you how damaging that is, I don't think there's anything that I can tell you. And you say this guy is stuck in another century, not another decade, and he represents nothing to do with the future of our movement. I can accept that. You're not really going to hurt my feelings, so maybe we can have a kind of amicable split here. He went on to say they'll never run against a Republican, that AOC party wing of the party. All they do is run against other Democrats. I don't quite understand why you're so anxious to have the word Democrat in the description of what you do, but maybe we can have an amicable split here. And you go your way, we go our way, and after the election, we come together and see how much common ground we can find. Jimmy Kimmel blamed liberals, quote, completely manufactured outrage for getting Trump elected. Now, we know Jimmy Kimmel is far left. I think a lot of the outrage is completely manufactured. And it's like a lot of these people who are angry aren't really angry. I think these liberals who've done such a good job of viciously attacking comedians are a big part of the reason why Trump is the president right now. There's no black and white when it comes to comedy. There is no line. The line is different for every person. Dave Chappelle can say things that somebody else might not be able to. I don't think anybody should be canceled. I really don't. He went on to blast Trump as vindictive and the Republicans are scared of him. Again, that is a false narrative. They're not scared. They support his policies, and that you can't equate the two. All right, we are out of time. Sorry, frustrated Dems. Nancy Pelosi is not going anywhere. That's according to the New York Post. Have a great day, everyone. Join us tomorrow morning. It'll be our last new Frankly Speaking of the week, as we have Good Friday off here, so you have to get all your comments in either through the rest of today and tomorrow's program. And we'll be back at 6 a.m. with Frankly Speaking only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early. Look forward to it already.
Driving the Nissan Rogue with Google built in is like the perfect assist.
Hey Google, add basketball hoop to the shopping list.
See why it's been named a Consumer Guide Best Buy for 11 years in a row. Drive the award-winning Nissan Rogue today.
Now get a low $249 per month lease on Rogue, or get up to $2,750 total savings on Rogue Rock Creek.